All right, we have more breaking news. We just got word of an appeals court decision regarding Donald Trump that has huge precedent-setting implications for both Trump and the presidency overall. The court ruled that Trump does not have presidential immunity from lawsuits concerning January 6th.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
I gotta say, the biggest joke in politics right now is on Donald Trump. Just hours ago, the guy who spent years arrogantly bragging, "I'm untouchable," and "I have total immunity," just got demolished in federal court. And now he's no longer President Trump. He's just a pathetic, sore loser getting crushed.
112-page opinion. The judge said that Trump's words show that he and the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, quote, pursued the same goal, and that Trump would have known his words were understood as a, quote, call to action, and that his response to the violence made it all the more plausible that he was involved in a, quote, tacit agreement with the rioters. Joining us now, former U.S. Attorney and MSNBC contributor Barbara McQuade and Charlie Sykes, who is still here. Barb, this opinion is a barn burner. I could quote from it, but maybe I will. But first, I just want to ask you what you make of it and why it's important.
I have to admit, this ruling is absolutely delicious. Judge Amit Mehta just dropped a brutal 112-page bomb that completely destroys Trump's immunity argument. He made it crystal clear. On January 6th, Trump wasn't acting as president at all. He was nothing more than a sore, desperate loser trying to whip up a mob to steal back an election he lost fair and square. No official acts, no presidential duties, just straight up election sabotage. Man, I'm loving this. The strongman's favorite excuse has just been torn to pieces.
Well, legally, John, the reason it's important is it says that these lawsuits can go forward. You know, ordinarily a president is able to use immunity to get out from under civil lawsuits. Anything he does within the scope of his presidency is up for immunity. But what the court said here is he wasn't acting as president. He was acting as a disgruntled candidate.
This evidence that the former president of the United States engaged in seditious activity, that he abused his office, that he was part of this effort to block the peaceful transfer of power. This is an amazing moment. And I think that the positive thing that we need to focus on is the fact that there are still avenues to hold him accountable.
I love how Barbara McQuade called this an amazing moment. For the rest of us who care about accountability, yes, it really is. But for Donald Trump, this is a full-blown nightmare. For the first time, a federal judge has officially put on record that Trump abused his office and tried to block the peaceful transfer of power. The immunity shield he's been hiding behind is gone. Those civil lawsuits from Congress members and Capitol police officers can now move forward at full speed. And trust me, the part that's going to keep Trump up at night is discovery, when all the emails, texts, and phone records get dragged into the light. This is going to get ugly for him. And I'm here for every second of it.
President Trump on tape pushing Georgia election officials to overturn his defeat.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Just listen to that pathetic phone call again. I just want to find 11,780 votes. That wasn't the voice of a president. That was the voice of a desperate con man begging to steal an election. Judge Mehta nailed it. This was pure campaign fraud, not official duty. The mask is completely off.
The facts fully show that on January 6th, President Trump was acting on behalf of the American people, carrying out duties as president of the United States. Now, in response to Judge Chutkan's ruling in the D.C. case, the rhetoric amped up a little bit more. He said that the, quote, radical Democrats and President Joe Biden are trying to, quote, set dangerous precedents that would cripple future presidential administrations and our country as a whole in their desperate effort effort to interfere in the 2024 presidential election. And the ruling from Judge Chutkan rejects one of Trump's really best and only claims to try to dismiss this D.C. case. Now it is absolutely moving forward. And one line from her ruling that really stood out to me, Alex, she said that just because essentially you were the former president of the United States, that does not confer a, quote, lifelong get out of jail free pass.
Oh, this is rich. Trump still keeps trying to defend himself by claiming he was acting on behalf of the American people and carrying out official presidential duties. But Judge Chutkan completely ripped that excuse apart. She made it crystal clear. There is no lifelong get out of jail free pass. Just because you were once president doesn't mean you get permanent immunity for everything you did in office. What's even funnier is that Trump just lost his immunity protection, is running for 2024, and still screaming about being politically persecuted. Classic fake tough guy. When he loses, he cries victim. When he wins, he acts like a hero. I have to tell you, this is exactly where the ruling stops being theoretical and becomes Trump's worst nightmare in practice. Judge Mehta didn't just reject immunity, he opened the floodgates for full civil discovery. In civil litigation, unlike criminal cases, the plaintiff's lawyers now have powerful tools to demand every document, every email, every text message, every internal White House note, and every phone record from the days leading up to January 6th. We're talking about the fake electors scheme, the pressure campaigns on state officials, the warnings from his own advisors that were ignored, and the exact moment Trump decided to send an armed crowd toward the Capitol. And here's the part that should keep Trump awake at night. In civil court, he cannot hide behind the Fifth Amendment the way he could in a criminal proceeding. If he refuses to answer questions during depositions, the jury is legally permitted to draw a negative inference. That means they can assume he's concealing damaging information. No more, I don't recall. No more stonewalling. He will be forced to sit across from lawyers representing the very officers he once called heroes and explain under oath what he knew, when he knew it, and what he intended when he told the crowd to fight like hell. Let's make this real. These are not abstract legal footnotes. These are flesh and blood Americans whose lives were shattered. Officer James Blasingame suffered a concussion, multiple broken bones, and crushing PTSD after hand-to-hand combat defending the Capitol. Officer Sidney Hemby endured chemical burns from bear spray and a smashed hand that still affects his daily life. The family of Officer Brian Sicknick filed a wrongful death suit after he collapsed just hours after being assaulted by rioters. These officers will now take the stand in open court. Their scars, their medical records, their therapy notes, all of it becomes evidence. And for the first time, Trump will have to listen to their stories without the protection of presidential immunity or the ability to pardon himself out of civil liability. The financial stakes are equally devastating. Trump already knows this terrain too well. He lost $88.3 million in the E. Jean Carroll cases. 2 separate juries, 2 clear verdicts, fully upheld on appeal. He paid $25 million to settle the Trump University fraud case. His Trump Foundation was dissolved, and he was ordered to pay $2 million in restitution. In New York, his business empire was hit with a $354 million fraud judgment. All civil cases, all without Fifth Amendment protections, all ending with Trump writing very large checks from his own pocket. Legal experts following this case believe the damages here could reach staggering new levels, potentially hundreds of millions, because these are not just reputational harms. These are documented physical injuries and lifelong trauma directly linked to the violence Trump is accused of inciting. This is the slow, grinding machinery of civil accountability doing what criminal cases could not. Trump escaped criminal prosecution thanks to his election victory and the Supreme Court's immunity ruling for official acts. But civil court operates in a completely different universe. Here, the president's power is irrelevant. He cannot fire the plaintiff's lawyers. He cannot shut down the case with a loyalist attorney general. And he most certainly cannot pardon himself out of a money judgment. The strongman who built an entire brand on dominance is about to discover that in civil court, dominance doesn't exist. Only evidence and consequences do. And that brings us to the deeper, more lasting damage. The political and symbolic blow this ruling delivers to Trump's entire identity. For years, Trump has sold himself as the ultimate strongman, the fighter they cannot touch, the winner who turns every attack into fuel, the man who always beats the system. Indictments made him stronger. Convictions made him stronger. Even assassination attempts became campaign merchandise. But civil accountability is different. It is slow, methodical, public, and deeply personal. It doesn't lend itself to the persecution narrative quite so easily. Imagine the visual that will play out over the coming months. Capitol police officers, the same men and women Trump once praised, describing in painful detail how they were beaten with flagpoles, sprayed with chemicals, and left with lifelong trauma. Discovery documents revealing what Trump knew and when he knew it will be released in open court. A jury of ordinary Americans will hear the evidence and decide exactly how much Trump should pay from his own fortune. This timing could not be more brutal. Trump is now in his second term, yet these civil cases will keep January 6th alive in the public eye for years to come. Every new deposition, every released email chain, every court filing serves as a recurring reminder that the man who claims total victory and total control still has not escaped the consequences of that day. While he sits in the Oval Office projecting strength, civil courts quietly remind the country that some doors cannot be closed by election wins or loyal appointments. This is the slow erosion of the invincible image that has sustained his movement. Trump's entire brand depends on projecting total dominance and total immunity from accountability. Civil justice chips away at that myth, one document, one deposition, and one victim's testimony at a time. It tells a story not of persecution, but of consequences, of a leader who abused his platform and is now being forced to answer for it in the one place where presidential power has no shield, a civil courtroom. The irony is thick. The same man who turned every criminal indictment into a fundraising email is watching the one legal battlefield he cannot dominate, cannot delay forever, and cannot tweet his way out of. His lawyers will appeal, of course. They will drag this out with every procedural trick available. But even they know the path forward is narrow. The Supreme Court's immunity ruling applied to criminal cases involving core official acts. This is civil liability for campaign-style behavior. The justices are unlikely to intervene again at this stage. In the end, the greatest damage may not even be the money. It is the gradual collapse of the untouchable myth that keeps his supporters energized. 5 years after January 6th, the criminal cases may have faded, but civil accountability remains very much alive. No pardon can stop it. No loyalist appointment can shut it down. Judge Mehta's ruling has opened a door Donald Trump cannot close, forcing him to finally face the consequences of that day in the one arena where even he must play by the rules. So let's wrap this up clearly and without spin. Judge Amit Mehta has delivered a historic 112-page ruling that strips Donald Trump of the last remnants of presidential immunity in these civil cases. He has officially ruled that on January 6th, Trump was not acting as president of the United States. He was acting as a defeated candidate desperately trying to overturn an election. The immunity shield is gone. Discovery is underway. The victims of that day are finally getting their day in court. And the so-called strongman is learning, perhaps for the first time, that some battles cannot be won with rallies, social media posts, or claims of total immunity. This is not the dramatic ending Trump supporters wanted, but it may be the most lasting one. While he claims victory and invincibility, ordinary citizens and injured officers are quietly pursuing justice through the civil courts, the one place where presidential power has never been absolute. If you want to stay ahead of these developments and get the kind of no-spin, fact-based analysis that cuts through the noise, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button if this ruling matters to you. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe these civil trials will finally deliver real accountability? Or will Trump find yet another way to to delay justice. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely curious what you think. And as always, thank you for watching. Fact check everything. All court documents and sources are linked in the description. Keep fighting for accountability. Don't let them silence the truth. I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed.